Hey Gearheads, and welcome to GT Garage Talk, a discussion about all things automotive. I am your host, Cory, and on this episode, we have a special guest. We're talking trucks and road trips and Woodward Dream Cruise, and I just realized that word is a lot harder to say than I had prepared for. But we have Tim Esterdahl from Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk here on the show. He recently towed his 1962 Chevy truck Swede up to Detroit for the Woodward Dream Cruise, towing, using as his tow vehicle, there we go, his brand new 2023 Chevy Silverado with a Duramax 3-liter in it, which I love so much here at GT Garage Talk. He's done a lot of modifications to it. I will let him tell you everything about the trip, and I'll come back here to recap it. So without further ado, Tim Esterdahl. All right, Tim. So last time I had you on the podcast, I think we were talking Rustgate with your then F-150 that you owned long term. Since then, you've had a Tundra. Now you're driving a Chevy. How you been? Let's catch up with you first. But how you been?
Busy.
Yeah.
It's kind of the word we have to use. Everybody's busy, right? So, but no, it's been fun. Lots of good, exciting stuff happening over here. It's been really exciting to get in these new trucks and drive them long term. As you know, we do the press loan 7 days a week, or like you go to dealership, get it for a couple hours, which is great too. And you also do press loans. But owning a vehicle is such a different ownership experience. And then, having it, I was able to do a lot of modifications in Silverado. I decided to kind of open up Pandora's box on that.
Yes, you have.
That's been fun and very time consuming, to say the least. And so um, it's been good. And then, having the truck, I'm able to do these trips we're going to talk about here in a minute, doing these long distance trips and things without having to worry about some automaker saying, well, hey, you only get 500 miles to press on this week, or hey, we don't need you doing this our truck, or we don't this, whatever. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
It's my truck. What I want. So yeah, it's been really fun.
So why don't we kind of segue into that? Talk about your current owned vehicle, and then how that transitioned to this trip to Detroit that you recently took. So, again, you had the F-150 during Rustgate when we were
Mhm.
first talking to you here on the podcast. You've since had Toyota Tundra. Now you're in, and I'm quite jealous because I've sampled that diesel engine in that platform before. You're in a 3-liter diesel Silverado High Country, right?
That's correct. Yep, crew cab, 5.5 foot bed. When it came to this year, I always try to buy something new for the channel, something new and exciting. And unfortunately, last year didn't have a whole lot of new and exciting choices and the way things rolled out. So I kind of went back to where I wanted to go. I wanted to buy this. I wanted to drive this Duramax diesel long term. I've wanted to have one for a while. I've like you have always enjoyed the experiences with them, and I said, you know what? Nothing else out there, so let's go with this, and it's slightly updated. It's new LZ0 diesel versus the LM2.
Mm-hmm.
They've made some modifications to it, a little more horsepower, a little more torque. They said slightly better fuel economy. I'm gonna say yes or no. I'm not really sure on that one, but they simplified it a little bit. They took away a few parts they didn't need, kind of made it more reliable from their standards point. I've had the opportunity to interview the chief engineer a couple times and discuss with him the changes they made. So they've made some strategic changes that are not impacting the vehicle overall. But I wanted to have one, and I wanted to buy High Country. I wanted all the bells and whistles. As you know, it's a lot easier to report on everything if you have it versus saying,
Right.
"Well, gee, I don't have that feature. I can't talk about it."
Right.
That doesn't really work in our business. And so I got that. I have it. It's nice dark ash color. It looks really nice. The interior is the new refreshed interior with a
Mm-hmm.
bigger screen. And thank God I'm not don't have to look at like a little like 1990s Apple Mac screen. I actually have something to actually see, and so that's fantastic. I mean, the truck has been overall really great. I've had nothing but good luck with it. And then I kind of opened up, I said, Pandora's box, and so
Yep.
what we've done. My gosh, I feel like I'm doing a NASCAR thing every time I do this, but let's start from the front to the back. We have a Fab Fours bumper it
Mm-hmm.
has like a Desert Runner bar on there. We have a Warren winch, 12,000 pound Warren winch built into that as well.
Nice.
It's actually kind of cool. You can Bluetooth connect to the winch and use it instead of using the controller. which is
Interesting.
kind of a fun thing to do.
It's about
I don't know
time
if I'm
they get up to date with stuff, right? Bluetooth,
right.
all the
Yeah.
things.
Oh yeah, it's really cool. You can do that. And underneath the engine, I put a new oil pan in from PPE. Put a new after PPE transmission cooler that's bigger than the stock cooler. I put a
Mhm.
transmission fluid bypass valve in, which actually runs the transmission now so cold. I'm concerned about it
Oh,
because
really?
it works so well.
Oh, cool.
It's so impressive. We have Firestone tires. We have fuel wheels on it. I have a decked cargo slider on there. American Trucks gave me a stubby antenna,
Yeah.
which that was the major modification exterior. The stubby antenna, man, I'm telling you, a huge impact on that exterior. Bug guard, floor mats. Gosh, what am I missing? Oh, and the last thing I tried to, I had to leave on like a Monday, and this is like a 11th hour install. Firestone has a subsidiary of the company of tires that sells air suspension kits.
Okay.
So I have a Firestone Ride Right air suspension kit installed into it, and what that allows me to do is there's an app, and so you put these 2 airbags in, you connect to the app, and I can actually change the airbags as far as PSI as I'm literally driving if I wanted to. And so
Interesting.
what's nice about that is when I, put the trailer on to take my, 62 to Woodward Dream Cruise, we'll get more into that in a minute. I was able to raise the rear end up enough so there's no squat, so it actually rode level, and that allowed me not to have any play in the steering wheel, not look up, down, whatever. It was everything was a nice level ride, which is what you really want when you're towing. And
Nice.
so I was able to borrow my friend's 18-foot trailer and take my 1962 C-10 to Michigan for Woodward Dream Cruise, and it was really fun because at 62 just had $21,000 worth of work done on it. And then I had suppliers as well give me Firestone gave me a set of tires for the 62. American Racing gave me some wheels, and Catskin did a really sweet
Hmm.
seat inside of the truck. So upgrades there, but also the biggest upgrade was a new 350 V8 crate engine that's actually maxes out 375 horsepower, power steering, which I actually had to get a funny story in that. I'll talk to a minute on that. A new transmission, automatic transmission, new drive shaft, new wiring harness. I mean, I don't have the page in front of me, but literally the receipt I got from my mechanic was 3 pages long.
Gosh.
Um, yeah,
Nice.
it was quite the operation, but, it was really fun. So, like, there's a new, Sniper EFI fuel injection built into it, so it's got a little computer dock that shows up, and you can see all your numbers and stuff like that if you can nerd out over that stuff. The, steering wheel is a funny story. I again, 11th hour, the week before, I had to get the seat done. So Catskin sends me the seat cover, and I go to a place down in, Denver to have it installed. And I had ordered 3-inch foam from Amazon because it was the next day delivery. Everything else, like 2 inch was like 2 days, and 1 inch was like 3 days, and, whatever. So I got 3 inches. I thought, "Well, that's fine," put the cover on top of it. Well, when I got it home, um, I couldn't sit behind the wheel without, causing some concern of the lower extremity area
Yes.
for male
Yeah.
people. I had power steering installed, but I did not change the 17-inch steering wheel, and a 3-inch foam on the seat made the seat that much taller. And so any bump was a, major concern,
Catastrophic.
but let's just say, the nice way I say it. So I had to call, I actually called Holly on a Friday morning, and the guy was actually ready to leave. Holly, that famous company, and, had to overnight a steering wheel in, and we had to install that, like, the Friday night or the Monday night before I left on a Tuesday. And so, yeah, that was really good to get that done. That's all I can say about that. So,
That's
yeah,
what
so
people don't realize
it
about
was fun.
builds until you're actually in there doing it. And I see so many memes now about like me 5 hours into what was supposed to be a 30-minute bill after 3 trips to the parts store. And it's like,
Right. Oh, yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
how everything works.
Yeah, no, yeah, it is definitely what it is. Hmm, I it was good to get it all done. I just moved it yesterday because I had to move it out parking spot it's in. Sweet, I had to move them around, and, I just literally pulled up, Holly again because it's got so much horsepower that I did not get the power brakes done, and I thought I had got them done, didn't quite get it done. I can't really hold it back. It's kinda so powerful now that it's such a powerful, truck. There was one time in Michigan, I was driving around on the Woodward Dream Cruise, which has always been a dream of mine to go, and so I was driving it down the road, and all of a sudden, my the fuel injection got screwed up for computer wise, whatever. And so I had the idle went to like 2,200 RPMs, and I literally had to step almost off the seat, raising my butt off the seat, put my foot down on the brake and hold it back like a caged lion. Like, it was insane how powerful that thing is, and so, yeah, I had, those were fun things to have issues with and learn. The trip was by itself already fun. I mean, fun in a I'm using air quotes right now, terminology. I
Right.
mean, it's a 20-hour drive. It's 1,000 over 1,000 miles. I mean, so I made it in 2 different days. I did like a 12-hour drive on the way out, and then the first day, and then 8 hours the second day. I got to, like, basically Moline, Quad Cities area. The way back, I drove all the way to Omaha, stayed the night in Omaha, and drove home. So, when you spend 40 hours behind the wheel,
With a
you learn
truck
a
on a
few things
trailer.
about your truck.
Yeah.
So I mean, takeaways from the truck towing. I mean, I used like 12 and a half gallons of DEF, which is just ridiculous to me. DEF is diesel exhaust fluid. It actually it's a spray that gets put in the exhaust of the whatever the
The
fumes,
yeah.
and it mitigates some of the dangerous fumes in the particles. So you have to have it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's part of the
Mitigates.
deal. So yeah, it's one of those things. And so then I used actually the bigger story for a lot of people was I used a quart of oil each way. I learned this. It's interesting. GM on a lot of their diesel engines actually has uh, say, an excessive oil usage technical service bulletin. They actually tell you how much oil you should be using if you're towing or doing high performance like driving. And they were spot on. Every 1,000 miles should use a quart of oil if you're towing. And
Interesting.
so that's been a very interesting and a very hot topic in my comments on my channel and other places. People claim that their truck doesn't use a drop of oil, and I've talked to mechanics. I've talked to ASC certified mechanics. I've talked to engineers in different rival companies, and they're all like, "Eh, there's a little oil." Like so the oil is going to get past the rings. It's going to get through the PCV valve, and it's fine. It's not a big deal. And people are going, "No, that's right, right." And so I don't know. I mean, I don't. What I have said is the oil usage only bothers me because now I have to think about it.
Right.
Now it's a topic of conversation. That's what I don't like about it, and so I wish that that would not be the case, but it is the case, and yeah, it's unfortunate that that happened that way. The rest of the fuel economy, 15 miles going out, 13 miles going back, the is physics. So I'm at 3,400 feet. Michigan's like at 500. I
Yeah.
went downhill to Michigan. I turned around, come back uphill to Michigan. I did 75 miles an hour
That's still
because that's the
impressive
speed limit both
economy.
ways. So, yeah,
Pulling a 62 truck and yeah, so
yeah. And I figured I took it to the scale here in town, and I had 6,000 pounds of towing. So the Silverado with the 62 was about 12,000 pounds of total weight. And I figured my Silverado weighs around 6,000 pounds with the modifications for the bumper and this deck cargo slider in the back too, which is
yeah.
really cool. It comes out of bed a little bit. So that's kind of the gist of it. I went to the American Racing's booth and was able to park Swede there, which was really cool to see this old Nebraska plated farm trucks sitting along all these, things. They had what they have. Oh, they had one of the big YouTube channels and stuff. Camaro sitting
Strat-Am
there
or
with a big
something.
blown top and all kind of stuff and Corvettes things, and people are. I went to the Starbucks and guy goes, "Is that your old farm truck?" I'm like, "Yes, yes, you get it, yes."
Yeah, there are two schools of thought, and I need to do this because I was out running today and I passed by two very different um, ways of thinking with their two car garages. There's a 1971 Camaro next to a
Mhm.
2023 Colorado in one garage, and I'm like, man, that guy knows what's up. Like he's got a gorgeous classic in Hugger orange with the white stripes, and then he's got something modern that is his do all work all truck. I was like, man, that's a pretty sweet two car garage. Now I get further into my neighborhood, to the nicer side of the neighborhood, I'll say, and they've got a G Wagon and an AMG GT Coupe. And I'm like, you know what? I would, which of those two I would take is totally dependent on how much money I had to fork over to maintain. But both of those would be very awesome two car garages. And something about, like, I grew up loving classics. The Camaro is the reason why I love cars in general. And if it like the 69 is my all-time favorite. So something about seeing something old taken care of, or even in the process of being restored, like Swede, it excites me. It lets me know that I was having a conversation with a mutual acquaintance of both of ours, the vehicle nanny, Bill Taylor, and like any idiot, like the scene in Gone in 60 Seconds, any idiot with money could go out and buy the latest, greatest. But
Mhm.
to actually take something, to put the time, energy, and effort in it, to select the engine, the seat, the foam, the steering wheel, and make it all work together, there's something to be appreciated all the much more in that than just going and buying it off the shelf.
Yeah, and the other thing is you have a sense of pride. You know how things work. You know how things are supposed to be connected. You can fix things. I took Sweet off the trailer and parked him, and I looked over and I found this little hole underneath the tire, underneath the frame. I'm like, "What the hell is that?" So I kinda got in close, and I bent down, look at it, and it's the bottom of the shock mount, the little hole that you put the bolt through that connected it to the shock mount on the
Mm.
frame. And I was like, "Oh, lost a bolt. Hmm. How'd that happen?" And it's like, I'm probably gonna have to bolt that back in.
Yeah.
That needs to be connected. But, the thing that I love about classic vehicles is, and I need to do a video, and I haven't done the video yet on this, is there's just nothing better than taking, like, my 62 out on a summer day in the dirt roads by the farm fields, windows down, and just cruising. Like,
Mm.
that says America to me. It says, I said what it says, but it says America to me. It says to me it's a source of freedom. It's that sense of adventure we used to have when you were 20 and you get your new license, or 16, get new license, whatever, and you're going out there with your buddies, right? It's that what it used to be. I have an article that's on pickuptrucktalk.com that's not live yet. Jill and I are debating on it. I got up one day in a pretty no cranky old man mood, which I happen to do at times. And I wrote like a thousand word thing, and my synopsis on this was that there's a lot of new vehicles out in the marketplace that are just frankly numb driving experiences, and they're boring driving
Mm.
experiences. And I know there's good vehicles and bad vehicles, and that's always been the way it is. But I feel like newer vehicles return such a numb driving experience. There's such a form of transportation to point A to point B that this love of driving is going away.
Yeah.
And unless you do like some high performance sports car or do whatever, I mean, I understand that's why I haven't done it, because I can understand Jill's argument in my head. I just know she's going to say, well, Tim, it's really about this and whatever. But I just feel like there's these vehicles now, you get in, you push the button, the doors lock automatically or whatever, and you put it in gear and you're gone, and everything loads up and your phone connects, your music is playing, and you don't, there's nothing unique. I mean, remember, I was actually laughing about this. Before I left on a road trip, I actually went and got another gallon of DEF. I got some oil. I checked the tires. I checked the windshield wiper fluid. I mean, I made sure I was ready to go. Right? Uh, People just don't do that anymore.
Mm-mm.
People just they just get in
They
the car and
just
just
go.
go. Yeah, and it's a little unfortunate because you have this piece of equipment, this machine that's meant to be used as a machine, but also meant to be taken care of, and we don't do it. And I don't, and it's just it's the way the market has gone, the way vehicles have gone. I especially find it true for many EVs I get in, is that once you hit the accelerator for a little bit and you get the Watts to Freedom mode or whatever out of your skin, um,
Unbridled as
there's
the
nothing else
case is
there.
for you right now. Turning on that
Yeah, I'm driving a
unbridled.
Mustang. I'm driving a Mustang Mach-E right now, and it's fun. My friends and I are going to go on a road trip. I have to go to Denver tomorrow. I'm going to go down and play golf. It's about 3 hours, about hour and a half away, 3 hours round trip. We're just taking a road trip. It's fun, and it's so the Mustang Mach-E is a great example. It's fun around town. It's once you hit cruise control, great, and then
Yeah.
you put on Blue Cruise, and so I mean, Blue Cruise, what it just kills me because you just sit there and your hands are crossed or you're on your lap or whatever, and you just sit. Like I don't know. It's just it's interesting
Yeah.
to experience. I can see why people would like it. There are certain people that just don't like driving. Certain
I'm
people that don't like gas pumps, which is EVs are perfect for those people. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely perfect. But if I'm just gonna sit there and let the vehicle drive, isn't that called a bus
Yeah.
too? Like,
Like why?
I don't, right.
Well,
Well,
the
the other thing too is like
freedom of your own
you can't like grab
schedule.
your phone and like
Yeah.
do something, or you can't get like a read a book or something. You have to keep your eyes forward, so you're kind of trapped in this
You put an
stasis point where you can't.
iPad way
Yeah.
up there in the windshield, and that way you're still looking forward. The truck doesn't know that you're watching an
Right.
iPad. That's the real trick right there. Not that I've done it. I have not done that. I do not condone. Follow all local driving laws, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But
Right.
yeah, I made
But yeah.
Holly do Blue Cruise in the Lightning that we had, and she was not a fan. She barely even uses cruise control, like normal
Mhm.
cruise control. And so she's like hovering there. She didn't want to move
Yes.
her hands. She didn't want to move her feet. She's like, I don't have to touch anything. Yeah, just sit and be. And she couldn't sit and just be. It did not compute.
No. No, and we're gonna get to this point where, I was with GM once at their proving grounds, and the guy said, "We have to try out Super Cruise." I said, "Oh, great. I got in this job because I love to drive, but here, get in the truck and don't drive."
Yeah.
I'm like, it's such an oxymoron, it's like,
Wait a
"Okay,
minute.
well, wait a minute, what's going on?" So, frankly, I would love Super Cruise, speaking of this, on the road trip. I mean,
Mhm.
towing and that's why I told Jim, I said, towing is a very stressful, it's
Mhm.
never easy. You're always paying attention to stuff, and and you're always watching everything, and then you try not to get complacent. I mean, Super Cruise for that would have been great on that road trip. I I almost ran out of DEF once. I have this Banks iDash in the corner that shows me regen status and how much, what's going on. Or no, not DEF gas. I was driving along, and all of a sudden it said range was 30 miles.
Yeah.
Okay, but I was in Iowa. Well, things can be 30 miles apart.
Yeah.
And it started flashing at me, and I was like, "Oh," so I pulled the gas station, and of course, I have a diesel, and so the diesel pump's always in the outside, and I can't with the trailer, I'm not gonna flip around the gas station, get around the other side,
Mhm.
and the gas station, of course, is full beyond capacity.
Yeah.
So I basically pull behind another guy with a trailer, turn my truck off, wait for a bit, turn truck on, pull about 6 feet forward, turn truck off because I was trying to conserve fuel. 'Cause, that was my big complaint with the Silverado is it's got a 24-gallon gas tank. Well, that's a big problem when you're towing. I had
Mhm.
300 miles of range. Well, I
Yeah.
had 300 miles of range, like 400 miles of depth range. And so it's like, there's a couple times I had to stop and pull over and get def and then get gas, top it off because I didn't need, you know what I mean? I was
Right.
doing this game of putting stuff together, and I was like, man, if I had a bigger def tank and a bigger fuel tank, I could have went, a much longer period of time. I like 3, 4 hour until I stop. I don't want to
Right.
stop. I want to go. And so that was that was a little frustrating with that truck. But yeah, that's just it's part of road tripping, is part of that stuff. And I would have loved Super Cruise for that driving just from the towing aspect.
Something tells me you're gonna have similar mindset road tripping that Mach-E. It's like
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
stop yet, but I have to stop. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So we're in this really interesting place where like this Swede, right? So people used to drive 1962 and 60s and 70s vehicles road tripping.
Hmm.
Like they used to do this. And so I always think it's funny because I go back to my colleagues. I'm like, yeah, I used to do a road trip on a old station wagon. They're like, oh, that's funny back in the day. I'm like, well, but take yourself back there. We used to pack lunches. We used to get the map out. We used to take oil and take windshield wiper fluid. You used to plan it all out. I mean, there's a thing, and you'll appreciate this with your son. There's a line in the Cars movie that on Route 66, and the line is that they used to take Route 66 to have a good time,
Not to
not
make
make good
good
time.
time. Yep.
And now we're a society that says, "Did you make good time?"
Yep.
Like
Did you
that's
beat
your first
what
question.
Waze was telling you when you first put it in? That is my goal. I'm like, challenge accepted. I will get there
Right,
sooner.
right? Yeah, and so, I mean, that's the way we are as society, and it's just too bad because we miss that aspect of just having a good time on a road trip, and that's the thing with, like, difference between EVs and, like, a gas engine. In EV, you go back to days where you're gonna have a good
Mhm.
time. The road trip is part of the vacation, not a means to the end to start the vacation.
Yep. So the past 2 summers, we have done Route 66 in halves, with Texas being the midpoint. And uh, after this last section, we did have a good time. Holly did all of the work, like finding all the main points of interest along the way. And she said, we're not doing Route 66 again. That's too much. Like, I just want to go somewhere to go there, not everything along the way. And so I'm thinking, okay, how do we make this interesting that it's worthy of making a video of? Yes, EV. And she's like, nope, not going to do it. She has sworn off long distances in an EV. And I'm like, but that would be like, everybody tells me and I'm sure you hear this a lot, is they won't do an EV because they can't do a road trip or they can't do this or they can't do that. My first experience with an EV was a Mach E, and it did not go great. I'll tell you that. It turned a 7-hour road trip into a 14-hour road trip and
Mhm.
almost left me stranded at a cash only toll booth in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma at midnight. Like, yeah, it could go wrong, but so could a normal road trip, just in totally different
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's such a really interesting place to be in the marketplace, and one of the things that, if I take this back, people ask me all the time about what I love about my 62, and the reality of classic vehicles is that driving experience.
Mhm.
It's that fun. It's that sense of adventure. It's the way it used to be, and just getting back behind the wheel and experiencing that versus, like I said, today in today's road trip in today's time-starved, society. And yeah, I mean, I've driven Sweden to Denver and back. That's 180 miles. I've driven the back roads. Took me another half an hour to get there. Dream Cruise, I drove home. I was going to take my trailer down and pick my truck up and take him back to my dad's house. I stayed at my dad's house about 50 miles away from the event, or 50 minutes is probably 30 miles.
Right.
As far as traffic in Detroit. But I said the night before, I said, Dad, I said, I spent $21,000. It's not gonna be a trailer queen. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna trailer him back and forth. That's ridiculous. So I trailered him down because I this is the way the situation played out, but on the way back, I actually drove back home,
Mhm.
and that was so much fun. Once I got out of some of the stop and go traffic and I could actually not stand on the brake pedal with all my
Right.
might and just to hold it back, but, that was really fun to be able to do that, and then, my dad was really blown away by it, and I was pretty blown away at the time too, thinking back to it. I mean, here's this event you go to as a kid, and there's, thousands of people and hundreds of vehicles, and if you've never been to Woodward Dream Cruise, you really should go at some point. It's 16 miles long. Woodward Dream Cruise is a long, straight road. You drive along with these. I mean, you're driving down the road. We're driving my dad's. He's got this Cadillac XT6, and we're sitting there driving along, and there's an old Camaro next to us, a new Hummer next to us, a Lamborghini, like a Porsche in front of us, and like this really weird creation of like a boat driving down the road. I mean, rolling boat. I mean, it's such a festival of American classics and things, and to be able to be in that, event, it just was really it's really cool. It really, I mean, I now, will I do it again? Oh, I don't think so. Oh, that was a long adventure, but, to say one of those times in life where I say I did it, and
Yeah.
I went through with it, and then, to come from this idea in my head to fruition is just such a great, well, sense of accomplishment, and I really felt proud when I was done with it, and proud and happy with my sponsors who helped out, and happy with everybody that helped me along the ways, because if with classic vehicles or even like modifying Silverado, you can't do it yourself. There's
Right.
always an army of people that help you out. And I had a really good support team, and really lucky to find some friends in town who have a lift and have the knowledge. And we were able to, successfully get it done.
So going back to that like soul and personality of cars kind of drifting away into nothing, I've got two different ways I could take this conversation. One would be you and I both just got back from the Detroit Auto Show, and Stellantis was nice enough to pass along to me the just refreshed 2024 Alfa Romeo Stelvio. And
Mhm.
my goodness, that car just oozes personality. I don't I you can't I can't say there's any just one thing that just stood out about it, but you see it and you're like, that's not a boring car. That's just got something about it. It's the style. It's had a 2-liter 4-cylinder. It was not a spectacularly powerful vehicle, but it was fun to drive. It was exciting and engaging. But then you get something like, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus here, but like an Econobox or a check the boxes type vehicle,
Yeah.
or even a modern EV. Like, so many of those are okay. It's just a mode of transportation. It's an appliance, but it is nice to know that there are still some vehicles out there that are being manufactured that have personality, have that draw that make you want to take the back road and add 30 minutes to your trip home.
Yeah, it really is, and it's, unfortunate in the climate we're in today that some of those cars are going away
Mhm.
because of regulations. And look, we all want clean air. I'm not going to argue that.
Yeah.
There's different ways to get clean air, but I think
Yeah.
that's the argument. Um, but it is nice to have that. I do understand that, as journalists, we're a little bit, snobbish in some of our viewpoint on different vehicles. And so I know there's a lot of people that just want point A to point B, good reliability. That's it, right? So like my sister-in-law buys a brand new Honda CRV every decade, and she gets all the options. She drives it until she can't drive it anymore. She cries a lot, buys a new Honda CRV, then goes another 10 years.
Mm.
And that's, I mean, that's she wants. There's not going to. She's not always going to buy Hondas. It's
Yeah.
just that's the way it is. And so I know a lot of people buy just based on reliability. Some people buy on styling, some people buy on features, and that's what makes the automotive market so cool is that there are a bunch of different buying needs and customers out there, but it is nice to hop behind something and enjoy it. I tell people that I've been doing this 14 years now, and the key to this job is that you're going to get, I'm going to pick on Toyota here for a minute, but you're going to get 5 Camrys in a row,
Mhm.
right? Over the years, you'll get five every year, get a new Camry or two review. And the challenge is to be excited for that new Camry you got, just as excited as you were with the first Camry you got, right? And that's a hard challenge because at the end of the day, that customer looking for that new Camry is really excited to get the new Camry. They're really
Mhm.
excited about it. That's their first car. They're really looking at it really closely. And so that's always the challenge with us as journalists is to just be as excited as we were when we got the first one. And it's a hard thing to pull off. And in everybody's driveway and all your driveway, my driveway, everybody's driveway, as far as journalists go, it's a routine rotary kind of situation of constantly new vehicles coming in and changing out. And every time you have to be excited for it, and every time you have to know the customers. I had a really hard time about last month. I think it was. I had a BMW 7 Series, which I took because I don't really take cars, but I just wanted something fun, for whatever. That was 162,000.
Mhm.
I then had a Mercedes Benz, like I think it was GLE, that was like
Mhm.
90,000. I had a Chevy Trax for 25,000. I had a Mercedes Benz, or I had the BMW I or XM that was 165,000. And so, I had to make sure I gave that Chevy Trax, my same focus as I did the $165,000 BMW XM. And I had to make sure that I was going to be like, oh, I'm not going to say, oh, this Trax doesn't have all these features that the XM had. Well,
Yeah.
that's completely unfair,
Yeah.
and that's the challenge of the job. And so, and then the thing like classic vehicles too, like, I'll get in these vehicles that have all this stuff going on, and I hop in Swede, and I'm like, okay, you turn them over, there's brake, there's gas, there's windows,
Yeah.
right? So I
That's
mean, and it's so funny because like I'll take Swede to Menards and put like actually the bed actually fits a sheet of drywall perfectly, and so I can go get a sheet of drywall and put it in bed, and I'm like, haha, my truck can do what your truck did. My truck's 60 years older.
yeah.
I mean, I'm always blown away by the fact that trucks have gotten so powerful, and yet the customer needs for the trucks haven't really changed.
And yet the tricks that they're having to pull out to make modern trucks. So like the Colorado Canyon, I've got a Canyon in the driveway right now, famously ditched the extended cab and our crew cab short bed only, but
Mhm.
their fix or their solve is there's grooves on the tailgate so that you can still have that long surface, but it's no longer a flat surface. But if you've got a 4x8 sheet of plywood, whatever the case may be, like they're solving it in other ways because they're really answering the call that these are family vehicles for 90%
Mhm.
of their use cases. And I don't know, it's a very interesting thing to see the market evolve and to have so many forces acting on it. You've got consumer demand wants and demands, which is one thing. Then you've got we have to address the elephant in the room, the government basically mandating through cafe, corporate
Mhm.
average fuel economy, and this push towards electrification. I can tell you here in East Texas, EVs, they don't do it. The Mercedes Benz lot in town has 3-to-1 EVs versus gas cars on their lot. Like it's they can't move them. The Kia lot in town has the world performance car of the year, the Kia EV6 GT, marked $13,000 off sticker. He will end up losing an award winning performance car, losing money on that because it's just, it doesn't tick right now. And I don't know, it's just
I'm
so
surprised.
weird to see
Yeah.
everything that's at play and how it shapes everything. And man, I want to go buy that EV6. I'm like, Never are you gonna find a deal
Right.
like this.
You could just you should just buy it and, like, drive it up to California and flip it and make $7,000-$8,000
Yeah.
immediately.
Uh,
Um, I would imagine that EVs in your area probably just got shot by shotguns and rifles
yeah.
just because the hate is so interesting, and, I so yesterday, I was at the golf course because alright,
Yes.
I play a lot of golf, let's just be on with that, and, we're sitting there talking to the head pro, and he was asking questions about EVs, and another guy was in there, and I live in a very conservative rural area, and we get a
Mhm.
lot of EV questions, that's fine, and my friend who has ridden with me for about all summer long, has ridden in different vehicles, started questions about EVs, and my friend's actually answering questions, like, he had gotten so well versed through all my conversations with different people over the span because EVs are scary. The
Mhm.
change is change. I mean, I was at my chiropractor and I was telling him, I said, driving an EV is just different.
Yep.
It's not different bad. It's not different to me amazing. It's just different
Yep.
for the average consumer. I'm not talking about the early adopters. Early technology adopters, they love them. It's all bells and whistles and gadgets and things. I get it, right? I mean, for a while there, I worked at Best Buy. I bought all new stuff all the time. But then I got to the point where I was like, I don't really no, I can't tell the
Yep.
difference between this monster cable and what came in the box. I can't tell the difference. It's fine, right? So, I mean, I think that the early adopters will notice a big difference. The challenge we're running into from EV standpoint is the mainstream consumer, and the mainstream consumer is so confused because unfortunately the anti-EV crowd is filled with inaccuracies and half
Mhm.
truths, and they push this stuff out like the world's coming to an end. And the pro EV crowd is full of so many early adopters and so many rah rah people
Mhm.
that they cannot even grasp the idea of somebody doesn't think the EV is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And so trying to strike that middle ground and trying to inform consumers in a way that makes them think about things differently, it's really difficult. I did a video. I had the Lightning or Hummer or one of the two. I forget what it was, but I had said in the video, I said, there's some things that people don't realize with EVs. For example, up here in the north, where we get winter and real winter, not your
Yes.
fake winter, in the north here,
We get
an
4
EV
years worth
heats
in
up
1 year.
faster in wintertime.
Yeah.
Giant space heater. Within a couple seconds, you have hot air coming through the vents. That's a huge thing for my wife. My wife goes to different schools during the day. In the wintertime, her ice vehicle is literally an ice vehicle. It never heats up, right?
Yeah.
So, that aspect of an EV is really nice. And then you can actually do an app on your phone. You can set your time to leave. My wife leaves between 7:30 to 7:45 every morning. Well, she can go in the garage, and her EV would be nice and warm or nice and cool, depending on the season, and she hop in and just go,
Yeah.
right? So that's really nice. My wife notoriously runs out of gas. She hates gas stations, and I there's a lot of people that do,
Mhm.
and so she would love the fact to be able to plug in when she gets home and never have to go to the gas station ever again. That would be her dream, and it makes sense. My wife loves technology. Well, you can't get more technology in an EV, and you
Yep.
can't get more features and things as far as technology because all the latest technology is going right to the EV crowd or full size trucks, basically.
Yep.
Those are really interesting factors that make it a thing. Security, safety. I didn't realize this, and my managing editor Jill Simonello works with me. She's very different than I am. Safety. That there are a lot of women that really scope out gas stations because of creeps or faulty
Mhm.
lights or whatever. And the fact that you don't have to you don't have to get gas on the way home, trying to run home real fast and be worried about getting carjacked while you're getting gas at this gas station, right?
Yep.
You can get home, plug in your safety of your house, shut your garage door, you feel very safe. There's also a flip side to that, saying that, like Jill had pointed out, middle of the night, she's out of charge. She has to stop at an EV charging station in Chicago.
For an hour?
That's right, but that's a she's stuck there. There's no lights. There's no attendant. There's no police driver. I mean, no security. I mean, so that's a very nightmarish situation for her.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not gonna happen, and so those are concerns too, but, you know, I just tell people, like, an EV is just a different type of propulsion system. It runs differently. No, your electrical bill is not gonna go up by $9,000. No, that's not gonna impact I had the Hummer, I think it cost me 25 cents to charge it all the way up.
Mhm.
That Hummer with a 6.2-liter V8 turbocharged engine and a 40-gallon gas tank, go to the gas station with that, let me know how fast your
Yeah.
wallet drains, right? So, I mean, the only reason the EV exists or the only reason the Hummer exists because it's an EV.
Right.
The Hummer would never exist as a gas vehicle because it just can't. It just would never work. And so, I mean, there's some practical feedback to that. I mean, I just drove the Mustang past a gas station today, and I was doing some recycling, and I was thinking to myself, like, "Wow, and, like, all these people are standing there, waiting for the fill up." I'm like, "I don't have to do that. I don't have to,
Yeah.
worry about that at all with this type of vehicle." And that's nice too. I mean, there's some peace of mind with that. And then the people always want to talk about the batteries and batteries and batteries, and it's like, we all know at this
What
point, you've
happens
had
if the
cell phones
battery
and
breaks?
laptops and
Yeah.
stuff, right? Batteries don't die.
Yeah.
They just don't perform as well as they used to. And then at some point, instead of getting 300 miles of range, you get 275 miles of range, 250 miles of range. So you just charge more often, or you go ahead and replace the battery. I mean, and there's always horror stories, right? EVs catch on fire, or EV replacement costs of a battery are insane. Well, I mean, for crying out loud, I just spent $21,000 on a 62 truck for just this powertrain.
Yeah.
Like, don't tell me that EV batteries are expensive, and don't tell me that my 62 can't catch on fire, because I sure as hell had it on fire a couple times because the electrical, wires crossed. So,
Yeah,
I've had fires in my trucks too.
my 2014 Jeep has to be parked outside right now because we have a recall on it that it could just randomly catch on fire due to an electrical short in it. No
Yeah,
EV propulsion in that one. It could still catch on fire. Don't park near anything. And it's like that that still exists. Gas vehicles are predicated on explosions. Many,
right.
many, many
How many explosions
explosions.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, the challenge with EVs is the flip side of that is that the truth that's the thing that happens with EV crowd and anti-EV crowd is you can have truths.
Mm,
So do EVs catch on fire more often than gas vehicles? No. But when they do catch on fire, it's more of a concern because you can't put it out the same way you do a gas vehicle. There's different training that fire departments go through, different things happen, and yes, you could burn your house down with an EV. Good with a gas vehicle too, but an EV takes different types of chemicals to put out the fire.
right.
So I mean, but again, change is hard,
Yes.
and I don't like change at all. So it is hard, right? I mean, so I'm always, and I don't like change for the sake of change. I'm always fighting against small little changes for no reason.
Yeah. Well, you and I were talking at the Detroit Auto Show about the possibility. The more we're talking here, I really want to do it. I want to give my parents like 3 days with an EV as their only vehicle. Be like, all right, live with it, figure it out, because they enjoy every EV I bring over to them. They think they're fun. Like the first Tesla I brought over to them, like it took my mom's breath away. Literally took her breath away when I accelerated in it. She was not ready for it. They are a blast. They make great luxury vehicles. They're 70 plus now. They deserve a nice, comfortable, luxurious vehicle, and an EV would afford that. They just bought a certified pre owned Avalon that I tried to talk them out of. And I'm like, y'all would be perfect candidates for an EV commuter vehicle because they have a 2012 Honda Pilot that's their road trip vehicle. I'm like, eh, nobody's saying you're voting any certain way in the next
Yeah,
election if you buy an EV. It actually makes sense for you. Explore that option. Like, don't
right.
just, but
Yeah, I mean, that's a problem. The politics get too involved in this, and that's very unfortunate. I mean, EVs are not for everybody, but they are for certain consumers. And when you get the politics involved, it all goes downhill. But I've had Republican friends and Democratic friends on both sides talk about EVs. Are interested.
mhm,
I think the public is interested. I just think they're misinformed on many things. I think they're not ready for it. Many things. And I think the fear of something different is really pushing them aside. But I happened to about a month ago I got fed up with my weed whacker. I'll update this for a minute. As a gas weed whacker, I just got mad at it. I was about to burn the damn thing. I'm actually shotgun. Looking at my gun closet right now. And I went to Menards and I bought a battery powered weed whacker, and a battery powered a blower, right, a leaf blower.
mhm,
And my goodness, is it so much nicer, right? So I have 2 batteries, one the same battery for each one, I have the same charger for each one, I bought the same brand, that way I have the same thing,
mhm.
right? But I put my, battery in the weed whacker, I press a button, and boom, I just weed whack.
Yeah,
I don't have to pull, don't have to prime it, don't do anything, I just walk and do it. My leaf blowers, I just noticed the other day, it's got a setting on the handle where you can pull back, the lever a little bit,
and it
and
just
actually
stays
turns
on.
on auto on.
Yeah,
So I just crank it all the way up and walk around. I just walk around a leaf blow and I'm done. And it's so quiet. You hear
Mhm.
no noise because it's just there's no motor on it. And then I put it back in my garage and I put it on a charger if I want to, or I don't charge it. And it's so I think there's going to be a time where if you think about it from the weed whacking standpoint, like I just said, the small yard equipment kind of deal, then you go to the golf course and you can drive and
Mhm.
basically an EV at the golf course.
Mhm.
The new lithium powered golf carts are literally the underskin of it is the new VW ID.4
Yeah.
or the Mustang Mach-E, whatever. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And what I tell people all the time is an EV is just a glorified golf cart,
Which
electric vehicle.
sometimes flies
It's
better
really what
with
it is.
others than
Yeah.
but yeah.
I mean, yeah, you get better suspension, you get better knobs, you got better seats, you got better, styling. But at the end of the day, the mechanical understanding of it
Mhm.
is basically the same idea. So, I'm like, I look at people and like, well, I'm anti-EV. I'll never buy one in my life, whatever. I was at Walmart and the guy had this shirt and says gasoline forever, right? And he's walking around with a shirt with Walmart. I'm thinking, you dumbass. But I'm just like, and I know he plays golf, and I'm just like, so when you play golf and you ride in your buddy's EV golf cart,
Yeah.
what's the difference here? Like, yeah.
So I've got a caveat to your lawn equipment story because I went one further. I have the gas powered mower that goes with it. And for the most part, the giant asterisk, I have been happy with that conversion because prior to that, I had no yard equipment. We had moved from an apartment and we were hiring somebody, and that was getting more and more costly as time went on. I was like, you know what? I'll just do it. I enjoy doing it. Granted, I have a 13-degree slope uh, in my front yard that is treacherous to climb, but I got it all. Worked great the first year. Second year, battery degradation started creeping in a little bit. Uh, Third year, creeping in a little bit more. I'm now in my fourth season. I've had to replace one battery already that was like way too much money. It was a smaller amp hour battery. I went from a 5 to a 4, which is all they make anymore. But my other two batteries are about to quit on me too. I am literally looking out my window right now at my unmowed front yard because the trip to Detroit was during lawn mow time of the week
Okay.
and
Right.
it got out of control. And my one good and two dying batteries are not strong enough for me to take back the jungle that is my front yard. So
Sure.
literally, as I hang up with you, that is the next goal. Is they've been charging all day. I'm going to go out and finish it up. So there are downsides to it. They work great when they work, but yes,
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
time I have that problem, I hear EV critics going, "Yeah, but if you had had a gas mower," I'm like, get over it. It's like,
Oh, are you kidding me? Gas blowers. I mean, I've had so many problems with mine too. Like so we use ethanol in the state, and so I have to buy premium fuel for them because ethanol destroys fuel lines.
yeah,
And so, either one's gonna be an issue, right? The EV's battery can be an issue, whatever. EV batteries are getting better. Are they great? No. Are cell phones great? Yes. Are they better? Are they perfect? No. I mean, everything's the same. I just think it's all the same thing in this transitional period. And I think our kids will look back at this time, and look back and go, "What are you guys talking about? These things were perfect."
yeah.
And go, "You don't understand the growing pains. You don't understand the VHS, the 12 flashing on it because you can't remember how to set the time, right?" I mean, that's the world we grew up in, and so, this can take time for that transition to happen.
Tucker always asks me, he's like, "Is this one an EV?" Because he always gets excited because to him, EV translates fast car,
Yeah,
and the GLB we had a few weeks ago would stand to disprove that, but for the most part, yeah, EVs are fast
yeah,
cars, and so he's going to be in a much different automotive world than either of us grew up in,
right,
or
right,
Swede, for that matter.
right,
So,
right, right.
but yeah, Tim, great talking to you about everything. Somehow we turned a trip from Nebraska to Detroit, towing a '62 Chevy, to griping and loving on EVs all in the same breath. But thanks for coming
That's
on.
right.
Thanks for shooting the breeze with me. If you want to see more from Tim and Jill and all that they do, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk on YouTube.
Yep, you can just type in pickup truck talk as well. That makes
Yep.
it kinda easier for the audience.
And I've had Jill on several times. She's getting ready to do the Rebel for a second time. So very excited to see what comes of that. Same vehicle, same partner. So it should be
Yep.
a very interesting trip as she hones her skills. But Tim, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
There you have it. Little known fact to you, we actually saw each other at the Detroit Auto Show. We chatted a little bit there. We chatted for about an hour after the recording you just heard. He's just full of knowledge. I consider him a good friend and a great guy in the industry. Absolutely go check out the work he is doing with his editor-in-chief, co-editor. I can't remember her actual title, but Jill Simonillo. We've had her on the podcast a few times. Just great stuff over there at Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. And yeah, go see them, pickuptrucktalk.com. Go find them on YouTube. They do some fun stuff. Good at counting them as friends here in the industry. As usual, if you want to find us, everything is at GT Garage Talk on all social media or gtgaragetalk.com. But until next time, gearheads, bye.